Hi everyone, welcome back to Active Self-Protection Extra on John's Briefs today, here with Terry Johnson. In watching these videos for prep about imminence and what do we define as an imminent threat which justifies the use of deadly force, I have a feeling we might disagree today.
I think we're going to.
Well, that's not very nice.
Now more than ever, you need trusted coverage to help you win the fight after the fight. The company I trust and recommend is Firearms Legal Protection. They offer discounts on all their plans at the link in the description. I recommend the premium plan.
Okay, so we have two videos in mind, both of which are officer-involved incidents. One took kind of the world by storm because there was an officer out of Los Angeles who also had quite an Instagram presence and was part of Hugh Hefner's harem. She gets into defensive use of force.
Yes.
Guy causes a big car wreck, 5 people. He's evidently using a box cutter, cutting himself and a bunch of other people. Now he's about 10 yards away from her when she shoots him, and she ends up shooting him several times, once while he's kind of rolling around on the ground.
Right.
So, she shoots him, he goes down, he starts getting back up again, she shoots him again, very controlled shots. He rolls away a little bit, she shoots him another time. And some people were asking about, wait a minute, did she have to keep shooting him? Second one we saw was some officers out of Argentina, walks up, slits the throat of an officer, puts a pretty good cut on him. They shoot him, he goes down, and then he starts getting back up again after a couple minutes. The first cop, kicks him in the head.
Right.
This cop, he's cut his neck to try to keep him down. Dude tries to get up some more, he shoots him again, and those officers were charged. So links to those in the description. So let's talk about, how do we define, Terry, how do we define an imminent threat? We always talk about an imminent threat of death or great bodily injury.
Right now. It's happening now.
Okay.
It's happening. It's not 10 minutes from now. It's not 30 seconds from now. It's happening now. Something is going on. We're at your house and we get a call that somebody's about to break through the door. Well, we can't sit here and shoot through the door. We have to wait for them to come in and present a threat to us.
So we have to have objective, reasonable evidence that it is happening now.
Right.
Now, I still think we're in a little bit of a gray area here, though, because when I have somebody who is a knife-wielding person, and okay, so clearly, let's talk about the second one, the Argentinian officers.
Sure.
Right? And he's already used deadly force, so he's cut the throat of one of the officers.
Yes.
Like, just reached in and cut their throat.
Yes.
So they shoot the guy, and he goes down. Okay, fine. Now they're saying, dude, stay down. Okay, I think it's the right thing that they stop shooting because the threat is no longer imminent. He's on the ground.
Correct.
He cannot use deadly force with a knife from the ground. If he had a gun, different story.
Correct.
But then he starts getting back up again.
Yes.
And that seems to me to renew the imminence. What is he getting up for?
So let me make sure I understand. We have a perpetrator that's laying on the ground that's been shot.
Yes.
Has a knife.
Yes.
How long is this knife?
So again,
approximately.
Say 4 inches.
Okay. So is that officer within 4 to 6 inches of this person?
Nope, clearly not.
Where's the imminence?
So how close do I have to let him get before I'm imminent? Do I have to let him get 4 to 6 inches away?
Well, the perpetrator's on the ground.
But he's getting up. So he's decided, wait a minute.
Maybe he's getting up and he's saying, no mas, no mas.
Got a knife in his hand. Getting back up with the knife in his hand.
But again, how close am I? Did he charge at the officer?
He had earlier, he just did.
I'm not talking earlier. Remember, we're talking now.
No, but see, to me, I look at this and I go.
But you even said it ended once he was down.
But it reemerged, so the threat can remove and then immediately come back. It can come right back. So again, what a reasonable person. I'm sitting here with a gun on him. He's already cut me. I'm bleeding. So I have objective, reasonable evidence that this guy has ability, opportunity, and intent to do me deadly harm.
I don't know about the ability.
If he gets up, he has all the ability.
What's the key word you used? If.
So he's getting up.
Okay.
He is getting up.
But he didn't complete that act.
But so I have to wait for him to complete the entire act before I'm reasonable?
Not the entire act, but again, is he no mas? Is he just getting up with the knife in his hand? Is he able to charge at me? How far is the officer away?
So to me, I look at that and I go, okay, but I don't have to, as a defender, I don't have to let him get all the way up, given the totality of the circumstances, that A, He's already attacked me with deadly force. B, I have shot him, so he knows what's up, and I am pointing a gun at him and saying, hey, dude, stay down.
Was this was after he just kicked him in the head, though, right?
It was.
Right.
So dude starts getting up. Officer goes, no, stay down, kicks him. Now, guy was wearing a helmet, too, so I don't think it was that big a deal.
And I'm fine. I am fine with the act of keeping him down that way. Okay?
So, but again, now it didn't work because the guy was wearing a helmet.
He's down.
But now he's getting up.
And
he's
the officer,
in the process of getting up with a knife in his hand.
Okay. Is he going to turn the knife over to the officer?
Why do I have to establish, his manifest intent has been to attack me?
Has been. But you have now shot this guy. This guy is laying down. He is now attempting to get up. The conclusion that you're coming to at this point is he is going to do more harm to me.
Because, again, all he has to do to show no intent is let go of the knife.
In your opinion.
But it's a reasonable opinion.
It's reasonable to you, but here's the question.
When I say jeopardy is manifest intent. Manifest intent is him, again, after all this has happened, he gets up again with the knife in his hand.
Which hand? Why? And I have to go back and look which hand, but
the same one he attacked me with.
Okay, but here's the question. And how far away is the officer at this point? Because the first time that this perpetrator used lethal force was when the officer was in the car.
So again, in the car, but then he shoots him when the guy goes around to the other side. The female officer swings the door open.
And again, how close were they at that point?
But they had a door between them.
I get it, but he was shot then. That to me was justified. What I saw in the video, he was
5 yards or less.
I was going to say a little more, but I'll even go with that. But the guy is still on the ground.
No, but he's getting up, Terry. He's getting up.
But he hadn't gotten up.
He's getting up with a knife in his hand, having already attacked me. A reasonable person looks at that.
I've already shot him. I've already kicked him. And if he gets up at that point, and when I say get up, if he's able to get up and kind of like a drunk guy, he's been shot, I don't know what condition he's in, at that point I think it would have been okay. But the mere fact that this person hadn't gotten up, and let me take it a step further. I don't know if they have tasers there. But what if they use something along those lines to take them down?
But again, irrelevant to the moment of what actually happened. So we could talk about the...
It's not irrelevant, I'll tell you why. Because at the question I think we're going back and forth on is the use of lethal force.
Yep.
So at that point, did the officer have to use lethal force to protect himself from this perpetrator who had already been shot?
I would say yes.
In my opinion, since he's already down, could he have used less than lethal force?
But he wasn't down. He was regaining mobility. So he was in the process of getting back to that place where, again, I have a much harder time shooting him.
Getting up from that position at that point, did that officer at that point have to use lethal force? Could he have used something less than lethal?
I don't think he has to. And I think,
but could he? Not did he have to, could he?
So he tried and it was ineffective. So the very fact that he kicked the guy and it was ineffective tells me, hey, wait a minute, I got to do something more to make sure this guy doesn't attack me again.
Could that be a taser?
Don't even know if he has one on him. But regardless of the fact, again, he's wearing a helmet, he's wearing riding leathers. I can say all day long, I don't think that that's going to be effective. Reasonably, that's not going to be the case. The first bullet in the guy didn't stop him. Me kicking him in the head didn't stop him. He's regaining his feet and has attacked me and my partner. I'm going to shoot that guy again all day long.
So I'm going to throw one other thing out to you.
I'm messing with the attorney.
But he's losing.
It's up to you. Who's winning this fight? It's up to you guys.
But here's the question. Why didn't the officer take action when the perpetrator was down?
Well,
think about it from this perspective. Normally, if there's a shooting and the perpetrator has a gun, right? What's the officer going to do? The first thing he or she is going to do, once this guy's down, they're going to remove that gun from that person, correct?
But I think the reason that they do that with a gun immediately is that no matter how, if he can see me with a gun, he can hit me with it. He can kill me with it.
Okay, so you're admitting that because it wasn't a gun, he couldn't hit me with the knife.
But
he'd have to charge forward.
But if I get into him with a knife, I'm gonna stand away from him. If he has a knife, I'm gonna stand away from him and point a gun at him and tell him to drop the knife. in order to disarm him.
But why didn't the officer do that in this case?
He did that. That's why the guy was laying on the ground. Drop the knife, dude. And then the dude starts getting up with the knife. He tried something less lethal and kicked him.
Well,
didn't work.
Right.
Now I go back to lethal.
Well, I don't know. And here's where I'm struggling with this. He kicked him. He's on the ground. He's
getting back up with the knife in his hand.
He's getting up, and let's see how he didn't get up too far. I don't know that the guy actually stood up.
So to me, imminent does not mean I have to let him get to the place where if he is going to stab me this second. I have a buffer, and that reasonable buffer is, given the totality, that guy is re-emerging as a deadly threat, and I can stop it.
Once he stood up, but the mere fact to me that he didn't stand up.
But he's getting up. So I still think he's within the envelope of reasonable. And I certainly don't think that beyond a reasonable doubt we can say he's unreasonable.
Oh, I agree with that. I mean, to me, it's a question of, was excessive force used in this case? And to me, that officer's right on the border.
I say no. I say he was totally okay.
Well, I've never been a prosecutor, but if I had to prosecute this case, I think I could probably get a guilty verdict.
Oh man, maybe. Oh boy. Now let's talk about the Los Angeles officer. Obviously, that guy again. He's got a box cutter, and I think there was some question on this one because in that I think personally the first shot as the guy's bowing up on her and being all obviously having just created a big wreck and hurt a bunch of people and is threatening people with this box cutter, and there were dozens of people around her.
Yeah.
And she comes into this hugely chaotic situation. I think she did a fine job of issuing verbal commands. Hey man, stay there, do me a favor,
Agreed.
Drop the knife, I don't want to have a problem. And then when the dude flexes on her, like he shows up and bows up like this, she sure doesn't hesitate much.
She doesn't. And when I first watched the video, my concern was, could she have used something less than lethal? Right?
Again, same thing though. I go, she has a partner, I get that. But is it reasonable for me to expect her to go, yeah, come on and stab me, bro? Because to get into a taser use?
I don't mean stab. I don't mean stab. But again, if, you talked about the Tueler drill and the fact that, someone can cover, 21 feet in about a second?
Second and a half.
Right. Now, more. But again, if she's there and she has her firearm already out,
she's got more margin for success there, and she's a heck of a shooter.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
Skill level very, very high.
My concern, I guess, would have been more for the public around her if she would have missed. Okay, that was a big concern for me, and that's why I'm saying, could they have used something less than lethal force?
So thank God, I think this is an argument for a high level of skill because again, with all the bystanders around, don't miss.
Yeah, and here's the other part. It's not only missing, what if the round would have went through?
Yeah, through and throughs do happen. I mean, I think obviously a good modern jacketed hollow point, you have a small chance of that, but a non-zero.
Yeah.
I do think where people started having some hard time on that one was, so he goes down, same thing, he starts to get back up, okay? And she's looking in this chaotic thing. He's not listening. He's not obeying commands. I have to act immediately because otherwise bad things are going to come.
But in that one, again, maybe the audio helped, but the difference is, boom, I shot, he goes down. He starts to get up, boom, I shot again. He gets up, I believe, a third time, and she finally hits him again, and he finally says, oh, if I stay down, I won't get shot.
Yeah.
Right?
And I think the Argentinian ones are the same thing, in my opinion. They look exactly the same to me.
Well, the problem is, this guy's on his back.
He just doesn't want to admit I'm right. That's all it is.
Well, I'm in your house. I better be right at least, because. But the difference is, again, look at the position that the perpetrators were. The one in Los Angeles was facing her, getting up. The one in Argentina was on his back, trying to get up. And it's hard for me to try and get up like this from the back and do you damage because I can't lunge at you, I can't do anything. But on the other end, in Los Angeles, this guy could have still lunged at her because he was in that type of position.
Well, and lunged at all the people
I think that's a win in my book.
All the bystanders around for her, for sure. I do think, when we say, okay, wait a minute, with the partner, I know people are going to ask you about the taser in both cases. That's the first one.
Sure.
Remember, first of all, the taser is only a 50-50 proposition. I mean,
correct.
At best, right? Number two, you got to get within about 12 feet for it to be effective.
Correct.
That's really close. And so in a standoff situation where, you know, you got a guy, no, I'm not going to drop it, but I'm not advancing or whatever. I got lethal cover. Okay, fine. But, you know, especially the officer in Los Angeles, she's got to make a split-second decision with this guy having hurt a bunch of people already in the vicinity. I got to stop that guy right now who's not listening to me.
Well, but here's a question about that. You've got people in the vicinity, but when we see the tape, there's nobody around the guy.
There's nobody immediately around him for sure.
So the question is, other than to himself, who is he an immediate threat to?
I would say he's an imminent threat. An imminent threat who he
Okay.
has been a much. And again, if I'm the officer, I start thinking about, I think actually in that moment, her backstop was probably the cleanest backstop she was going to get. And the fact of the matter is, if this guy runs over this way towards this crowd, I'm swinging a gun towards people in my backstop, and it's going to get ugly in a hurry.
Get it.
And otherwise, if he starts swinging this way, I got innocent bystanders that way. And right now, I've got the only clean backstop. Drop it, drop it, drop it. He doesn't. I got to make a decision here.
Yeah, and again, with her level of shooting and how she's been trained, I agree with you. But again, if we look at that perpetrator, again, could have lunged. His body position versus the one in Argentina was completely different.
Well,
He stumped on this one.
So here's the interesting thing, you guys. I think one of the things you got to pay attention to is the fact that you may say, wait a minute, I'm going to make these split-second decisions in the moment, but the jury is going to look at them second by second, moment by moment, instant by instant, under the cool light of reflection and ask, was it reasonable what you did? And so this is why I think the can I, should I, and must I paradigm is so important.
Absolutely.
And if we just act, if we really try our best to say, no, the only time I shoot somebody is when I absolutely have to, then that puts me in a very safe category.
Yes.
If instead I'm asking, can I, then I start putting myself in a little bit of limbo where people of goodwill, of education, and who are paid to do this stuff might disagree, and that's what starts costing you a ton of money to argue about in court.
Yeah. Because, I mean, look at what we're talking about. We're not saying this person, either one of these people were bad people.
No, dude did what they felt like they had to do in the moment.
And we're not saying these are bad cops who made bad decisions. What we're basically looking at is, at this point, we can agree, it's come down to the position of the perpetrator at the time of the shooting.
So, a couple things. Imminence matters, immediacy matters, and then that can, should, must paradigm matters. Again, your comments matter to me. Who won the debate? Do you think that I was right, or do you think that Terry was right? And why do you think that I was the right one? Thanks, Terry.
Thank you.